The day began like any other on Earth, but deep in the vast silence of space. Something different was happening, something that would soon change everything. Far beyond the reaches of human exploration, a faint signal traveled across the stars, breaking through the cosmic noise and reaching Earth's listening stations. At first, it was just a strange pattern of sounds, unrecognizable to even the most advanced decoding programs. The scientists at the Deep Space Observation Center watched their screens with growing curiosity and a hint of fear. The signal was a repeated pattern, almost like a message, but from where? What it said was unclear, but it was clearly artificial, and it carried the unmistakable mark of intelligence. Earth had never received anything like this before. The world's top space agencies and governments scrambled to identify the source. Speculation spread fast. Was it a cry for help, or a warning, or something far worse? On the other side of the planet, in the Pentagon's war room, military leaders gathered around glowing maps and data feeds. The director of space operations, a stern woman with decades of experience, spoke in a steady voice that carried the weight of command. We don't know what they want. We don't know if they are friend or foe. But this signal is a first contact. We must be prepared. Meanwhile, scientists worked day and night to decode the alien language embedded in the signal. An alien linguist was brought in, a young expert who had studied many Earth languages, but now faced a challenge unlike any before. The signal was complex, layered, and full of strange symbols and frequencies. Slowly, they began to piece together. Fragments repeated words that seemed to mean help, danger, and last hope. The tension grew. Across the globe, news outlets buzzed with speculation. Governments issued statements urging calm, but fear crept into the hearts of many. Was this a plea from a dying civilization reaching out for aid, or a trap meant to lure Earth into something dangerous? The United Nations held emergency sessions debating how to respond. Should humanity send a message back? Should Earth prepare defenses? Some argued for peace, others for caution, and some, quietly in dark corners, urged for military readiness. Time was running out. As the signal continued without pause, new data revealed its origin, a star system far beyond the known borders of human exploration. A system that was believed to be dead, its planets silent and empty for centuries. Suddenly, the world realized the true mystery. How had this signal survived all these years, and why now? Military commanders ordered the launch of Earth's best warships, powerful vessels, armed with the latest weapons and defense systems. These ships were built for conflict, not diplomacy, but the unknown threat demanded a strong response. Captain Marcus Reed, a veteran space commander known for his calm under pressure, was given command of the fleet. His orders were clear: investigate. The source determine the nature of the signal and be ready for any outcome. As the ships prepared for departure, families watched their loved ones leave with pride and fear. The alien signal had united humanity in a way nothing else had. The chance to meet another intelligent race was both a hope and a danger. When the fleet launched, Earth held its breath. The signal continued to pulse, a constant reminder that somewhere out there, a civilization was reaching out in desperation or warning. As the fleet journeyed into the dark unknown, Captain Reed and his crew felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Every mile brought them closer to the alien system, closer to the truth, and to the possibility of war or peace. Signal, persistent and mysterious, was the only guide through the vast emptiness of space. And everyone wondered, what would they find at the end? Friend or foe? Salvation or destruction? The answer lay beyond the stars, waiting. The fleet was ready, a small but powerful group of warships standing tall in the vast spaceport under the shimmering stars. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the flagship Valor, his eyes scanning the endless black beyond the reinforced windows. Around him, the crew moved with practiced precision, checking systems, loading weapons, and running final simulations. The air was thick with tension and hope. This mission was unlike any other. On Earth, governments and scientists watched. Live feeds, waiting for news from the brave souls heading into the unknown. The strange signal that had shaken the world remained constant, a beacon calling them forward. Yet no one really knew what waited at the other end. As the countdown began, Captain Reed's thoughts wandered to the unknown civilization that had sent the SOS. Were they truly in danger? Or was this a trap, a trick designed to lure Earth's forces into a deadly ambush? The fleet's second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, approached him quietly. "Captain, we've received an update from linguistics. They have made small progress decoding the signal. It appears to be a distress call repeated in cycles. Words that mean help, danger, and survivors appear often. But there is something else, something more complex." Reed nodded. "Keep me informed. Every piece of information counts." The ships jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth's solar system behind in a blink. During the long hours of travel, the crew trained and prepared, but the unknown weighed heavily on everyone's minds. In the mess hall, conversations mixed excitement with fear. Stories about first contacts in alien worlds filled the air, but so did warnings from history, the dangers of meeting unknown species unprepared. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the United Nations and the Space Coalition debated their next moves. Some argued that a military fleet was too aggressive, pushing potential allies away. Others insisted that safety came first, and humanity could not risk being caught off guard. Deep inside the flagship, Dr. Elena Garcia, the team's lead scientist, an alien linguist, worked tirelessly with her assistants, trying to unravel the complicated code of the signal. She discovered patterns that suggested the senders were trying to communicate something urgent. But it was not just a call for help. It was also a warning, hidden beneath the words. As the fleet neared the distant star system, sensors detected strange interference, communications became erratic, and several ships reported system glitches. Captain Reed ordered an immediate scan. What they found was startling. A large area of space near the signal was filled with dense energy fields, unlike anything in known space. It was as if the very fabric of reality there was distorted, creating a dangerous barrier. "Lieutenant," Kim reported. "Captain, this could be a defense mechanism, something meant to keep ships out." Reed frowned. "Or to trap them in." Suddenly, a small alien craft appeared on the sensors, moving quickly toward the fleet. The ship's design was unlike anything humans had seen before. Sleek, almost organic, with shimmering surfaces that seemed to change color. The alien pilot sent a brief message in the same code as the SOS signal, warning, "Do not enter. Turn back now." This is not a safe place. The fleet paused, the tension rising to a new level. Captain Reed debated. Should they listen and retreat, or push forward to uncover the truth? After a tense meeting with his officers, he made the decision to continue. "We owe it to those who sent the signal to find out the truth. Prepare for possible conflict." As they crossed the energy fields, the strange glitches worsened, and several ships lost contact briefly. But the fleet held together, and finally, they entered the orbit of a planet shrouded in dark clouds and swirling storms. The planet's surface was barely visible, but sensors showed signs of life, faint energy signatures and structures that hinted at a once thriving civilization. The distress signal was coming from there. Suddenly alarms blared, a group of unknown ships emerged from the planet's shadow, their weapons locked on the fleet. Captain Reed's voice was calm but firm. "All hands, battle stations. We don't know if they're friend or foe, but we're ready." The fleet responded with coordinated maneuvers, weapon systems activating as tension filled the void between the two forces. The first shots rang out, breaking the silence of space with flashes of light and thunderous impacts. The battle for the truth had begun, and Earth's fate, and that of the mysterious senders of the SOS, hung in the balance. As the fighting continued, Dr. Garcia worked feverishly to decode a new transmission intercepted from the enemy ships. Her hands trembled as she uncovered words that chilled her to the bone. "This planet is a trap. The signal is a lure. The real enemy waits." The crew exchanged worried glances. Had humanity sailed right into a deadly snare? Captain Reed tightened his grip on the controls. "Hold your ground. We fight not just for survival, but for The hope of all life out here? You will uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The battle raged on, but beyond the firefight, a deeper mystery waited. One that would change everything humanity thought it knew about the galaxy and about itself. The battle above the alien planet had barely settled when a new danger revealed itself, one that no one on the fleet had expected. The initial skirmish had shown the mysterious aliens were highly skilled, their weapons precise and devastating. But they had held back from a full attack, almost as if they were waiting for something. Captain Marcus Reed and his officers gathered in the command room, their faces tense but determined. "We can't just keep fighting blindly," said Lieutenant Sarah Kim, her voice steady but worried. "We need to understand who we're facing, and why they sent that SOS in the first place." The lead scientist and linguist, Dr. Elena Garcia, was exhausted but focused. She had intercepted another signal, this time from within the planet itself. The words were fragmented but chilling. Trap, betrayal, survival. It became clear that the SOS was not simply a plea for help, but a carefully planned lure, a trap designed to draw human forces into a dangerous conflict. But why? The fleet's scanners soon revealed evidence of two alien factions. One that sent the SOS desperate for aid, and another that controlled the planet with ruthless power. The first faction, the rebels, were hiding underground, trying to escape annihilation. The second, known as the Deathworlders, ruled with iron fists and saw humanity's arrival as a threat to their control. The rebels' warning was clear: humanity's response could tip the balance of power and unleash chaos. Captain Reed faced a difficult choice: to trust these rebels and risk being betrayed, or to treat all aliens as enemies. As the fleet prepared to send a landing team, the rebels made contact through encrypted messages, offering an alliance. They promised crucial intelligence about the Deathworlders and their plans, but only if humanity agreed to help overthrow the tyrants. The crew was divided. Some saw this as an opportunity for peace and understanding. Others feared walking into a political war that was not theirs. Yet the situation left no easy choices. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, the first human team landed in a ruined city, overgrown and scarred by war. Shadows moved among the crumbling buildings. Not all were hostile, but danger was everywhere. As the team navigated the ruins, they discovered signs of recent battles and the desperate plight of the rebel aliens. Time was running out for them, and for humanity's chance to survive. Suddenly, hostile forces ambushed the team, forcing a fierce fight in narrow alleys and shattered streets. Captain Reed coordinated with the team from orbit, guiding them through the chaos. Each moment was a test of courage and trust. Back on the flagship, Dr. Garcia worked with alien rebel leaders to decrypt more messages. They revealed horrifying truths: the Deathworlders had once been peaceful explorers, but had become corrupted by dark technology and ruthless ambition, turning their world into a death trap for anyone who opposed them. The rebel leaders pleaded with humanity to join their cause, warning that if the Deathworlders were not stopped, they would use Earth and other inhabited worlds as their next hunting ground. The stakes had never been higher. As battles intensified both in space and on the planet, the human fleet realized that their mission had shifted from mere investigation to a war for survival and alliance building. Captain Reed made a bold decision to commit fully to the rebels, planning a coordinated strike against the Deathworlders' command centers. The humans and rebels trained side by side, sharing technology and strategies, learning to trust each other in the face of an overwhelming enemy. But the Deathworlders were cunning and brutal. They launched surprise attacks on human supply lines and sent terrifying war machines to the surface, forcing the Allied forces into desperate defenses. Each victory came with a heavy price, testing the limits of humanity's resolve. The tension reached a breaking point when intelligence revealed that the Deathworlders had captured key members of the human landing team. A daring rescue mission was planned, involving both human special forces and rebel guerrillas. As they moved deep into enemy territory, the danger grew with every step. The fate of the captured crew and the future of the Alliance hung by a thread. In the quiet moments before the mission, Captain Reed addressed his team. This is more than a fight for survival. It's a fight for hope, for every world that doesn't want to live in fear. We stand together, not just as soldiers or aliens, but as survivors of this darkness. The rescue mission pushed human and rebel forces to their limits, blending courage with desperation. They fought through deadly traps and fierce resistance, proving that unity could overcome even the most impossible odds. As the team extracted their comrades and returned to safety, a new sense of purpose filled the fleet and the rebel underground. The war was far from over, but for the first time, hope burned brighter. Yet deep in the shadows, the Deathworlders prepared their deadliest move, a weapon capable of destroying entire worlds, and the key to their ultimate plan for domination. Humanity and their new allies had to act fast or lose everything. Story of the alien SOS had unfolded into a vast battle between darkness and light, and the fate of the galaxy rested on the courage of a few brave souls, willing to fight for a future free from terror. After the tense rescue mission, the fleet and their alien rebel allies finally had a moment to regroup, but the calm was only temporary. Orbiting the dark and stormy planet, Captain Marcus Reed and his crew faced a daunting reality. The Deathworlders were far more powerful and organized than anyone had expected. The planet below, once full of life and hope, was now a fortress filled with deadly traps, harsh landscapes, and heavily armed soldiers, loyal only to the ruthless rulers. Every scan showed layers of defenses and hidden weapon systems designed to crush any invader. The fleet's sensors picked up strange energy pulses, like anything human technology had encountered. Dr. Elena Garcia studied these anomalies and warned the command team that these were part of a terrifying weapon, something that could change the course of the war if it was unleashed. The rebel leaders confirmed the worst. The Deathworlders were preparing to activate a massive doomsday device buried deep inside their homeworld, capable of destroying not only the rebel enclaves but potentially the entire star system, including Earth, if humanity did not act quickly. With time running out, Captain Reed knew that diplomacy was no longer an option. The fleet prepared for a bold strike directly into the heart of the enemy stronghold. The Alliance had to move fast, combining human technology and rebel knowledge. To infiltrate the Deathworlders' defenses, the landing teams trained relentlessly, preparing for what was surely a near-suicide mission. On the planet's surface, the rebels guided the humans through dangerous terrain wastelands of toxic gas, crumbling cities, and shadowy caves filled with hostile patrols. Every step was a fight for survival. The atmosphere was heavy with tension and fear, but also hope. For the first time, the humans and rebels fought as one, united by a common cause. Communications between the surface teams and the fleet were constant but fragile. Interference from the planet's energy fields often cut connections, leaving teams isolated and vulnerable. The first wave of the strike force landed near a ruined city, the gateway to the enemy's core base. Enemy forces attacked immediately, forcing the humans and rebels into a brutal firefight through narrow alleys and shattered buildings. Captain Reed watched from orbit, directing support fire and coordinating reinforcements, feeling the weight of every life on his shoulders. As the battle raged, Dr. Garcia and the rebel scientists worked feverishly to disable the doomsday device remotely, hacking through layers of alien code and security. It was a race against time. Every second brought the threat closer to activation. On the ground, a small strike team, including some of the best human soldiers and rebel fighters, moved stealthily toward the core control center. Knowing that failure meant total destruction, the tension was unbearable as they bypassed traps and evaded patrols. Every sound amplified in the silence of the ruined complex. Subtly, alarms blared. The Deathworlders had detected their presence. Enemy reinforcements poured in, and the team found themselves surrounded in a desperate last stand. Captain Reed ordered the fleet to prepare a full assault, sending wave after wave of support to buy the ground team precious time. In the chaos, the humans and rebels fought with fierce determination, refusing to surrender. At the last moment, Dr. Garcia's team managed to break through the security barriers, disabling the doomsday weapon's power source and stopping the countdown just as it hit zero. Relief swept through the fleet, but the battle was not over. The Deathworlders launched a final desperate attack, determined to crush the Alliance once and for all. Captain Reed led the counterattack, his voice calm but commanding over the comms. "Hold the line. We fight for our future." The battle spilled into space and across the planet's surface, a fierce clash of technology, tactics, and willpower. Lives were lost, heroes emerged, and bonds were tested in the crucible of war. Finally, after hours of fighting, the Deathworlders' forces began to falter. Their leaders were captured or fled, and their control over the planet collapsed. The rebel factions, with humanity's help, reclaimed their home world, beginning the slow process of rebuilding. Yet even in victory, Captain Reed and his crew knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was larger and darker than they had imagined, and the Deathworlders' technology hinted at even greater dangers lurking beyond. As the fleet prepared to return to Earth, Dr. Garcia received a faint new signal, different from the SOS, but filled with the same urgent mystery. It was a reminder that peace was fragile, and the fight for survival and hope was far from over. The story of the alien SOS that brought humanity to the stars had opened a new chapter, one filled with uncertainty, alliances, and the courage to face the unknown together. With the Deathworlders defeated and the Rebel Alliance gaining control of their planet, Captain Marcus Reed and his fleet prepared to return home, but the victory felt heavy and incomplete. The rebels, though grateful, warned that their enemies' influence spread far beyond their own world, hinting at dark forces lurking in the galaxy's shadows. The fleet's journey back to Earth was tense and quiet, filled with reflection and uneasy anticipation. Dr. Elena Garcia continued her work, analyzing data recovered from the Deathworlders' technology. What she found was troubling, advanced weaponry and communications networks unlike anything humans had seen, capable of reaching deep into space and potentially controlling or destroying entire systems remotely. This was no ordinary enemy. The Deathworlders were part of a much larger, more dangerous threat. On board the flagship Valor, Captain Reed convened a council with his officers and the rebel leaders to discuss what they had learned and plan their next move. The rebels spoke of a secret organization known only as the Shadow Dominion, a mysterious force that controlled the Deathworlders and had been slowly spreading their influence for decades, manipulating weaker worlds and civilizations into submission. If the Shadow Dominion had its claws in this war, Earth and humanity might be in even greater danger than they realized. The conversation grew urgent. How could Earth prepare for a foe so hidden and powerful? Some argued for immediate military expansion. Others called for alliances with other alien civilizations. And a few warned against acting too quickly and revealing humanity's presence to unknown enemies. Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the alien contact and the war spread rapidly, sparking fear and hope in equal measure. Governments debated openly in the media, trying to reassure citizens while preparing defenses. Scientific communities pushed for more exploration, eager to learn more about the galaxy and its many mysteries. But ordinary people were left wondering, was Earth truly ready for what lay beyond the stars? Suddenly, a new signal arrived from deep space, intercepted by Earth's listening stations. Like the first SOS, this message was different. Coded, encrypted, and packed with warnings of an approaching force far larger and more deadly than the Deathworlders. It was a call for help from another distant civilization, one that had survived but was on the brink of annihilation. The fleet, still in orbit around the rebel planet, immediately changed course. Captain Reed knew this new mission could lead to the heart of the Shadow Dominion's power, but the alternative, ignoring the call, was unthinkable. As the fleet jumped back into faster-than-light travel, the crew prepared for what might be their toughest challenge yet. The new signal carried not just a plea, but a desperate hope that humanity and their allies could stand together against a darkness threatening all life. Along the way, tensions flared among the mixed crews of humans and aliens. Old wounds from the recent war and fears of betrayal surfaced, threatening the fragile alliance. Captain Reed worked tirelessly to hold his team together, reminding everyone that their survival depended on unity and trust. Dr. Garcia's research uncovered more about the Shadow Dominion's tactics. They used fear, propaganda, and advanced technology to control entire star systems without direct confrontation. This made the enemy unpredictable and deadly, forcing the fleet to prepare for both open battle and covert warfare. As they approached the coordinates of the new SOS, the fleet entered a dangerous and uncharted region of space. Sensors detected strange energy fluctuations and signs of massive structures, possibly weapons or prisons, scattered across the nearby star systems. The fleet moved cautiously, aware that the Shadow Dominion could be waiting in ambush. Captain Reed ordered extra patrols and intelligence sweeps, determined to protect his people and their allies. The first contact with the civilization sending the SOS was tense and uncertain. The aliens were wary and traumatized, their world ravaged by years of shadowy attacks and betrayals. Their leaders explained that the Shadow Dominion had been slowly destroying the galaxy's free worlds, turning them into bases and factories for war. They begged for help, but also warned that their enemies were already within the nearby systems, preparing to strike again. The alliance formed once more, now larger and more diverse, facing a common enemy unlike anything before. Plans were made for coordinated attacks and defenses, but the danger was always close. Captain Reed and his fleet knew this was not just a fight for one planet or one people, it was a battle for the future of the galaxy itself. The story that began with a simple SOS from a distant world had grown into an epic war. Filled with heroes and sacrifices, mysteries and betrayals, every step forward brought new challenges, but also the hope that together, humanity and their allies could face the darkness and find a way to survive. As the fleet prepared to engage the Shadow Dominion's forces, a silent question hung in the air. What price would they pay for victory, and what secrets lay hidden in the stars beyond? As the fleet pushed deeper into the unknown space, controlled or influenced by the Shadow Dominion, the weight of the coming battle pressed heavily on every member aboard the ships. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the flagship Valor, staring out at the stars that felt colder and more distant than ever before. The silence of space was filled with unease, broken only by the steady hum of the ships. Engines and the soft chatter of the crew preparing for war. Dr. Elena Garcia had warned them. The Shadow Dominion was unlike any enemy humanity had faced. They didn't rely only on brute force. Instead, they used fear, manipulation, and advanced technology to turn worlds into prisons and enslave entire civilizations without firing a single shot. The intelligence gathered from their new allies painted a terrifying picture. Massive fleets hidden behind cloaking devices. Devastating weapons powered by unknown energy sources, and spies who could turn friend against friend in the blink of an eye. As the fleet neared the coordinates of the new SOS signal, the tension on board was almost unbearable. Every sensor was scanning for threats. Every crew member was on edge. The first contact with the civilization that had sent the SOS was fragile. Their representatives, hollow-eyed and weary from years of fighting, greeted Captain Reed with cautious hope. They told stories of planets falling one by one, of entire populations erased or enslaved, and of a resistance growing quietly in the shadows. The Shadow Dominion had already claimed to many worlds, and their reach seemed endless. In a war room lit by flickering holograms, Reed and his officers planned their next move carefully. They could not afford a direct, large-scale battle, not yet. Instead, they needed to strike at the Dominion's supply lines and communication hubs, cutting off their control and weakening their grip on the galaxy. Lieutenant Sarah Kim coordinated with rebel leaders from several allied species, forming a strike force made of small, fast ships, able to move quickly and strike hard before disappearing into the darkness. Meanwhile, Dr. Garcia and her team worked tirelessly to unlock more secrets of the enemy's technology. She discovered traces of a terrifying weapon, a device capable of collapsing stars, wiping out entire systems with a single blast. If the Shadow Dominion had such power, the survival of Earth and all free worlds was at stake. The fleet launched its first series of covert attacks against Dominion outposts, striking swiftly and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. Each success was a small victory, but it came with heavy cost. The Dominion retaliated fiercely, sending hunting parties and spies to infiltrate the alliance. Fear spread quickly, and distrust threatened to break the fragile unity. Captain Reed knew that holding the alliance together was as important as winning battles. He spent long hours speaking to leaders from different species, reminding them of their shared goals and the future they were fighting for. On the surface of one allied planet, a group of special forces prepared for a critical mission to infiltrate a Dominion command station and steal intelligence about the collapsing star weapon. The mission was dangerous, with no guarantee of success, but failure meant giving the enemy more time to prepare. As the team moved through the shadowed corridors of the alien facility, they faced deadly traps and fierce guards loyal to the Dominion. The tension was suffocating, every breath heavy with the risk of discovery. Back on the flagship, news came that the infiltration team had succeeded, but barely. They carried crucial data about the weapon's construction and a possible way to disable it, a vulnerability deep inside the weapon's core systems. The Alliance had a chance, but it was narrow and dangerous. Captain Reed ordered the fleet to prepare for a massive assault on the Dominion's main stronghold, a fortress hidden in a nebula cloud, protected by powerful shields and deadly mines. The attack would require perfect coordination and sacrifices from everyone. As the fleet advanced, the Dominion unleashed its full power. Warships emerged from cloaked positions, and energy beams lit up the darkness, turning space into a deadly battlefield. Explosions shook the ships, and alarms screamed. As the fleet fought to break through the defenses, on the ground, rebel and human teams coordinated attacks against the fortress's entrances, disabling shield generators and clearing the way for the fleet's assault. Captain Reed stood at the center of the storm, his voice steady as he commanded his forces. The final battle for the galaxy's future was underway. Hours passed like minutes as the fleet pressed forward. The Dominion's collapsing star weapon was powered up, its countdown ticking ominously. The strike teams moved into the fortress's heart, racing against time to plant explosives that could destroy the weapon's core. Inside the fortress, shadows shifted and battles raged in dark corridors. Betrayals and sacrifices marked every step forward. The Alliance's unity was tested as never before. Finally, as the countdown reached its last moments, the explosives detonated. A shockwave rippled through the fortress, and the star weapon systems collapsed in a brilliant explosion of light and energy. The Dominion's grip on the galaxy shattered with it. The fleet pulled back, battered but victorious. The nebula cleared, revealing stars shining brighter than before, a symbol of hope for a new era. Captain Reed and his crew knew the war was far from over, but they had struck a powerful blow against darkness. The Alliance had proven that even in the deepest shadows, light could shine through. As the fleet set course for Earth, messages of hope and gratitude echoed across the stars. But deep in the void, the remnants of the Shadow Dominion plotted their return, silent and patient, waiting for the next moment to strike. The story of the alien SOS had become a legend, a reminder that courage, unity, and hope could change the fate of the galaxy, even against impossible odds. After the fierce battle at the Shadow Dominion's fortress, the fleet was battered but alive, and for a brief moment, hope seemed to shine brighter among the stars. Yet Captain Marcus Reed knew better than to celebrate too soon. The enemy had been pushed back, but remnants of the Dominion still lurked in the shadows, their power wounded but not broken. The Alliance's victory had been hard-won, with many sacrifices along the way. Ships were damaged, crews exhausted, and trust, though strengthened, was still fragile. In the quiet that followed, Reed gathered his officers and alien allies for an urgent meeting. The intelligence they had recovered painted a grim picture. The Shadow Dominion's leadership had splintered. Many cells remained active, preparing to strike back with even deadlier tactics. They had begun to experiment with biological weapons and mind control, twisting life itself into tools of war. The rebel leaders warned that the Dominion's influence extended far beyond the systems they had fought in. Many worlds had fallen silently, their people enslaved or destroyed without a trace. It was clear that if the Alliance did not act fast, the darkness would spread like a cancer across the galaxy. On board the flagship Valor, tension simmered. Crew members struggled with the heavy losses they had endured, and whispers of fear and doubt filled the corridors. Some questioned whether humanity and its new allies could survive such an enemy. Others feared the cost of endless war. Captain Reed spent long hours walking among his people, speaking with them, reminding them why they fought, not just for survival but for freedom. For the future of every living being in the stars, Dr. Elena Garcia continued her research, uncovering disturbing evidence of the Dominion's use of biological weapons that could alter entire ecosystems and even control minds. The implications were terrifying. This was no longer just a war of ships and guns, but a battle for the very soul of life itself. To counter this threat, the Alliance began a new mission: to track down the hidden laboratories where these weapons were made and destroy them before they could be unleashed. Special forces teams from multiple species trained for these covert strikes, blending human tactics with alien knowledge to adapt to every danger. Meanwhile, Captain Reed faced political challenges as well. Earth's governments were divided. Some demanded an immediate and full-scale invasion of the Dominion's territory, while others feared provoking an even greater war. The media buzzed with conflicting opinions, and public support was fragile. Reed knew he had to balance military strategy with diplomacy, keeping the Alliance together without tearing it apart. The fleet moved through the dark reaches of space, carefully navigating systems that might hide Dominion strongholds or traps. Each mission was a mix of tension and hope, with victories tempered by the knowledge that the enemy was cunning and relentless. On one planet, a special forces team led by Lieutenant Sarah Kim infiltrated a secret Dominion lab buried beneath toxic wastelands. They faced horrors beyond imagination, creatures twisted by biological weapons, prisoners with shattered minds, and automated defenses that struck without mercy. The mission tested their courage and resolve. Back on the fleet, Dr. Garcia worked to develop countermeasures, vaccines, shields, and technologies to protect the Alliance from the Dominion's bioweapons. Time was against them, but every small success fueled the hope that the tide could be turned. As the Alliance continued their campaign, a chilling discovery was made. The Dominion was building a new superweapon, hidden deep in a gas giant's atmosphere, designed to unleash devastating storms that could destroy entire planets from orbit. The race was on to find and destroy this weapon before it could be activated. Captain Reed led a daring strike team into the swirling storms of the gas giant, fighting fierce winds and enemy defenses to reach the weapon's core. The battle was brutal, pushing the team to their limits. But their success delayed the Dominion's plans and bought valuable time for the Alliance. Still, the victory came at a cost. The Dominion retaliated with increased aggression, launching surprise attacks on key Alliance worlds and supply lines. The war grew bloodier, and the line between friend and foe blurred as spies and saboteurs infiltrated the fleet. Trust became a rare and precious thing. Throughout it all, Captain Reed remained a steady force, inspiring those around him to keep fighting and believing in a better future. His leadership became the heart of the Alliance, a beacon of hope in the dark. As the fleet prepared for the next phase of the war, a new mysterious signal was detected, one unlike any before. It was faint and coded, but carried a message that chilled everyone who heard it, a warning that the Shadow Dominion's true masters were awakening. The war was far from over. In fact, it was about to enter a new, even more dangerous chapter. The story of the alien SOS that brought humanity into the stars had become a saga of courage, sacrifice, and the fight against an enemy that threatened all life. Captain Reed and his allies knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, because the future of the galaxy depended on it. The new signal that reached the fleet was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. A strange, an almost hypnotic pattern that pulsed through the communications array, like a warning from the depths of space. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the Valar, watching the display as Dr. Elena Garcia and her team scrambled to decode the message. What they uncovered was terrifying. the Shadow Dominion's true masters. A hidden ancient force known as the Overlords were stirring. After centuries of silence, these overlords had once ruled vast portions of the galaxy with unimaginable power and cruelty before disappearing without explanation. Now the evidence showed they were awakening, their forces gathering for a return that would shake the very foundations of existence. The Alliance knew that defeating the Shadow Dominion was only the first step. The real war was still ahead. The Overlords possessed technology and abilities far beyond anything humanity or its allies had faced. Entire fleets could be destroyed in moments, entire planets reshaped or erased. The fear among the crew was palpable, but so was their determination. Captain Reed called for a full council of the Alliance leaders, where the weight of their the enemy was laid bare. Some leaders faltered, overwhelmed by the scale of the threat, but others found renewed strength. Knowing that the survival of countless civilizations depended on their unity, plans were made for a bold offensive, one that would strike at the heart of the Overlords' awakening before they could fully gather their forces. This meant venturing into uncharted space, beyond any known star maps to find the Overlords' ancient homeworld. The journey was dangerous and uncertain, as the fleet prepared for this final mission. Personal stories unfolded among the crew, friendships forged in battle, sacrifices made, and fears faced. Captain Reed reflected on how far they had come, from receiving a simple alien SOS to now standing on the edge of a galaxy-wide war that would test everything they believed in. Along the way, the Alliance encountered strange and hostile phenomena, space storms that seemed alive, massive ruins of long-dead civilizations, and cryptic messages left by the Overlords themselves. Each discovery deepened the mystery of their power and the cost of their return. When the fleet finally reached the Overlords' world, a massive shadowed planet covered in strange, glowing structures, they faced a force unlike any before. The Overlord ships were massive, seemingly alive, and their weapons warped reality itself. The battle that followed was epic, a clash of wills and technologies that pushed both sides to the brink. The Alliance fought with everything they had, using every lesson learned and every ounce of courage. Captain Reed led from the front, inspiring his crew to hold the line against overwhelming odds. In the heart of the Overlord's fortress, Dr. Garcia and a team of engineers worked desperately to find a way to disrupt the enemy's power source. Time was running out as the battle raged around them. A breakthrough born from combining human ingenuity and alien technology, they managed to disable the Overlord's shields, turning the tide of battle. The fleet surged forward, breaking through the enemy's defenses and forcing the Overlords into retreat. But victory came at a great price. Many ships were lost, and heroes sacrificed their lives so others could live. As the Overlords vanished into the void, a silence fell over the battlefield, a silence filled with sorrow and hope. The galaxy had been saved, but its scars remained deep. Captain Reed looked out at the stars, knowing that peace was fragile, and that the story they had begun with a simple SOS was far from over. Yet the Alliance had proven that, even against impossible odds, hope and unity could shine through the darkest shadows. And though the Overlords were defeated for now, the galaxy remained a vast and dangerous place, waiting for those brave enough to protect it. The legacy of the alien SOS, the call for help that brought humanity to the stars, had become a testament to courage, friendship, and the unbreakable spirit of life itself.